October's supposed to be the dying light of. Hi, I don't know how you ended up on my channel. Maybe the algorithm brought you, or maybe you one of those people who hunts down the stories that don't make the local news, but should. The stuff that vanishes from forums. The comments that get locked seconds after they go live. My name doesn't matter. What matters are the stories. And the patterns. See, I've been collecting Appalachian weirdness for over a decade now. Some from Reddit, some in old library boxes no one's touched since the 70s, a few scrawled in shaky handwriting on the backs of Dollar General receipts. And every year, it's October that brings the worst of it. The stuff people only whisper about. The stuff that isn't fun scary. It's empty house on Halloween night scary. There's a rhythm to it, you know? A beat you can almost feel beneath your boots if you hike far enough away from cell service. First week, lights in the woods. Second, lost pets and dead radios. Third, things whispering your name through blown-out speakers. By Halloween, the mountains are alive with things that shouldn't exist. Always have been. Maybe always will be. This October, I've gathered 8 of the most chilling stories I've come across. Some first-hand submissions, others pieced together like bones in a shallow grave. But they all share one thing. They happened here, and they all carry the same smell of rot, of wet leaves turned to mulch and moss that refuses to die. You'll notice similarities. A shape in the fog, strange symbols, people hearing music where no music should be. One of them, story 4. It took me a year to find again. It disappeared after I posted it the first time. Scrubbed off every mirror site. Even the saved web archive was blank. But I printed a physical copy, folded it 3 times, taped it behind a loose panel in my closet. I kept it, because if what she said was true. Anyway, whether you're a believer or just here for a seasonal scare, make sure your doors are locked. Grab something warm to drink. Keep whatever superstition you trust within reach. Because once October sets in around here, things start walking that aren't people. And the mountain? It remembers you. Welcome to the October special. Don't say I didn't warn you. When my brother came back, he didn't have eyes, but he could see. They were there, still in his skull. Blue like our dad's. Pupils wide, glassy. But they didn't track things anymore. Not light. Not movement. Not even me when I waved a hand in front of his face. But he still moved through the world like someone with sight. He could pick out constellations on clear nights. Navigate doorways in pitch black. He once pointed out a raccoon crawling across our roof despite every curtain in the house being closed. The doctors blamed neurological trauma. Something about optic nerve damage paired with extreme sensory recall. Only, he didn't suffer a head injury. All he did was walk into an abandoned mine with me. Devil's Fork Ridge, about 12 miles outside of Elkhorn. It's not on the usual hiking maps because nobody maintains the trails. Haven't for years. But the old folks in town tell stories about it. Whispered ones. Stuff like, don't go there after first frost or count your shadows when you leave. Me and Caleb weren't superstitious. We were bored. Just 2 brothers with nothing to do on fall break, a beat-up Chevy, and a trail app that marked the area around Devil's Fork as unofficial but accessible. It started normal. Early October chill in the air. Bright leaves underfoot, crunching like popcorn with every step. We hiked for hours without seeing anyone. Just squirrels, some deer, and once, a pair of turkey vultures that wouldn't stop circling an empty clearing. Around mile 4 we stumbled across the mine shaft. It was partially collapsed, half swallowed by earth and vines. The wood framing around the entrance was rotted out, the sign unreadable except for a single word burned into the remaining plank. Below. Maybe we should have turned back. Caleb went first, lifting a heavy branch to duck under the frame. I followed, phone flashlight in hand, though it barely cut through the black. The deeper we went, the colder it got. Not cave cold, but this brittle, metallic chill. Like walking into a freezer full of wet coins. About 50 feet in, Caleb stopped dead. I nearly slammed into his back. That's when we saw it. A lantern. Old school. Steel frame, glass dome, flickering yellow flame. Just sitting on the ground in the middle of the shaft. No cord, no tank, no reason for it to be there. And no sound, just the crackle of the flame. There's heat, Caleb murmured, kneeling beside it. Feel that? Before I could answer, we heard footsteps. Heavy ones, boots crunching gravel. A towering silhouette stepped into our light. Uniformed. Ranger hat. Patch on the chest that read Department. Mouth moving, but no sound. They filed it as a missing persons report. No evidence of foul play. Search teams found nothing. Damn near made me puke. It wasn't a deer. It was shaped like one. For legs, hooves, maybe, but wrong. Its joints were backwards. Its neck was too long. Thin gray fur clung to bone in the places you'd expect meat. And the eyes. God, the eyes weren't eyes. They were holes, deep as mine shafts. And from somewhere inside those holes, something was still making that voice. I stepped back, almost fell. The road behind me was pitch black, like the beam from my flashlight refused to go past the body. Then it moved. Just the leg. A twitch, like it was getting back up. I ran faster than I've ever moved in my life. Jumped back in the car, locked the doors like that would do anything. I called 911. Told them I hit something. Unsure what. Possibly a deer. Possibly not. Gave them landmarks. Road numbers. I was shaking too hard to think straight. The dispatcher was silent for a little too long, then said, "Ma'am, are you sure you're on Route 12? Yes. That area hasn't had an active traffic report in 15 years. What? She cleared her throat. Please stay in your vehicle. Keep your engine running. An officer is on the way. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. I checked the mirror for flashing lights. Nothing. But I did see the roadkill again. Still behind me. Only now, it was closer. Same body, same holes for eyes. But it had shifted maybe 20 feet down the center line. And I swear its mouth was open. Like it had learned how to scream properly this time. I drove. Fast. Didn't care where. Just away. The sign started changing not long after. Mill Hollow, for miles then again. Mill Hollow, 3 miles then once more. Mill Hollow, 5 miles. I'd driven at least 20 minutes. But the mileage only flipped back and forth. And the trees, though dark and blurred, started to look the same, like the exact same clearing pressed copy-paste behind different clusters of trunks. I turned on the radio. Static. Then my voice. Not current me. Not panicking, road-weary me. No, I heard my voice from the 911 call, playing in the background like a recorded loop. I hit something. It's not a deer. I don't know what it is. Then silence. Then, please stay in your vehicle. Only the second voice. It wasn't the dispatcher anymore. It was mine. Not full hands. Just too many digits. I didn't stop driving until the sky started to feather with dawn. The trees thinned. The road started feeling up out of the soybean fields overnight. That's not hyperbole. I drive the same back road to work every morning. Route 54, just outside of Banner Elk. There's a wide field beside it, boxed in by pine trees, flat and empty for as long as I've known. Used to be a soybean farm when I was a kid, but the guy who owned it passed in '09, and the earth's been left to rot since. Last Tuesday, there was nothing there. Just frostbitten stalks and that dense gray mist hanging low the way it likes to in early October. Then Wednesday, there it was. A church. White clapboard walls, steep A-frame roof, crooked steeple. Looked like something from an 1800s graveyard painting. No parking lot, no signs, no visible door. Just standing there, half submerged in the glittering frost like it had grown up from the soil. I'm a youth pastor, Methodist-born, evangelical by calling. Churches are kind of my thing, okay? And I've visited just about every single one in this side of the state. This one, never seen it once. And it sure as hell wasn't zoned or marked on any tax registry. I felt drawn to it. Not in a holy way. Something deeper. Like gravity mixed with deja vu. Which, I know, sounds dramatic. But I'm telling the truth. Cross my heart. That night, I turned my car around and went back. Just to see. Just to make sure. There were people. No cars. Just dozens of people walking through the frosted field toward the church. Dressed plain. Brown coats, gray hats, old boots. Candlelight shimmered from inside the windows. Dozens of them, like the building was hollowed out and filled with stars. And the sound, it wasn't music. Not really. More like a low hum, constant, almost like static, but thicker, like a voice stretched out too far to form words. I didn't plan to walk in, but my feet moved anyway. The front doors opened as I approached, like they already knew who I was. I stepped through. The congregation didn't turn. Not even one. All of them were facing the pulpit. Silent. Still. The room smelled like wax and dead leaves. The air was smoky, but there was no fire. Just candlelight, and rows upon rows of wooden pews, each one carved with strange geometric symbols. Rings stacked inside triangles, jagged lines like dead tree branches. Places. Corridors underground. Stuffed with roots. Wet stone underfoot. Glowing light sources that pulsed like heartbeats. Toward the ridge. And sometimes, after midnight, I hear it again. Dooning. Low. Faint. But the bell still rings. I hear it at night. And I know it's calling me again. You ever hear static where there shouldn't be any? Try hearing a voice inside it. Not over it. Not glitching in and out like old FM warble. I mean deep in the sound. as if the hiss itself is breathing something across the airwaves, waiting for someone dumb enough to listen. That dumb someone would be me. I run a little ham radio setup out of my cabin near Beartown Ridge. Moved out here after I got divorced. Needed space. Silence. A reset button. Found an old structure built in the 50s, reinforced it, and turned the loft into my little broadcast bunker. At first, I did it for fun, tuning into marine frequencies, picking up weather reports, eavesdropping on truckers trying to one-up each other with tired stories. Then October hit. There's something about these mountains in October that makes signals scatter in ways it shouldn't. Frequencies bend, bounce, fold. Sometimes you pick up echoes from other counties, or other years, if you believe the tinfoil hat crowd. But this one night, it was around 2:16 a.m. I remember punch spine, no face. The same thing I started seeing near the tree line every night. Just standing there, in the brush, watching. One time, I caught it moving, but not like walking. It was in frame 1, and again in frame 6. In completely different parts of the forest. Gaps, like it moved between seconds. Final straw was a week ago. I tried one last recording. Microphone only, not even connected to the rig. Just wanted to prove I wasn't losing my mind. I asked into the mic, "Are you trying to contact me?" And this time, the reply didn't wait for post-processing. The air turned cold enough to fog breath. My lights dimmed. The mic needle pinned red. And then, already half, but not from the mic. From behind me. I turned so fast I knocked over the entire desk. Nothing there, but the barn doors were open, and I never left them unlatched. The recording? Still have it. Kind of. It's corrupted now. File title won't stay consistent. Every time I check, it changes slightly. Most recent version is labeled there __ the _ static _ now at MP3. I hit play yesterday, and the waveform wasn't a wave at all. It looked like the mountain ridges above Beartown stretched across the screen, and buried in the amplitude pattern, shapes, faces, familiar ones. Some from the missing posters I'd seen in town, some from my own photos. Friends visited just once, then never told me why they wouldn't come back. After that, I stopped recording. But on certain stormy nights, when the fog gets thick like cotton stuffed against the world, I still hear the static. And sometimes, just beneath it, I think I hear Walt's voice, screaming, telling me to turn it off. But it's too late, especially near the ridges. Because once you invite it in, the signal doesn't stop. Before he passed, Grandpa wrote 3 rules for surviving Appalachian October. One of them was, never whistle after the first frost. He carved it into the inside cover of his journal, right above our family name, dated 1948. I used to think it was just one of his stories. Old mountain nonsense meant to keep bored grandkids entertained while the fire popped. But after what happened last October, I don't laugh at those rules anymore. And if you've ever been near Buckhorn Hollow during the last weeks of October, maybe you won't either. It started when Mom sent me up to check on the old family cabin. I was 17, home on fall break, and the weather had just started dipping into flannel territory. Grandpa had passed that spring, and nobody had gotten around to winterizing the place. Mom said, just make sure the pipes aren't frozen and the raccoons haven't moved in. We'll come up next weekend. So Friday afternoon, I packed some canned chili, a flashlight, a spare hoodie, and drove 2.5 hours to that crooked cabin in the hills. I hadn't been back since the funeral. Everything smelled like wood smoke and mothballs. I left the front door open to air the place out and found Grandpa's old knit blanket still folded over the armchair in the living room. I spent the first hour digging through memorabilia. Photos, hunting knives, ancient fishing gear. It was comforting, in that sad, echo of a better time kind of way. Then I found the journal. It was tucked beneath the floorboards in the corner of the bedroom closet, right where Grandpa used to keep the shotgun. Faded leather, yellowing pages, long dead leaves pressed flat between some entries. On the inside cover, beneath his carved name, were those 3 rules. 1. Don't answer voices calling from the treeline. 2. Never offer bread to the crooked man. 3. Don't whistle after the first frost. I read the next few pages. At first, it sounded like Grandpa was losing it. Lots of rambling paranoia, mentions of the Watchers and her in the pines. But some entries were oddly specific. October 14th, 1972, heard a knock from the wrong side of the chimney again. Whistled by mistake. Owl screamed. Dog ran off. Didn't come back. Yeah, dog didn't come back. Just like ours. When we stayed this summer, I turned 8. Back then, we told ourselves she must have gotten lost in the woods. I went to bed that night feeling uneasy. Left the journal on the nightstand. Next morning, I walked the woods a bit, checked the water pipes, made sure the generator still purred. Frostbite clung to the grass like powdered sugar. Breath fogged the air. That afternoon I got bored. Took my pocket knife, carved a few old initials into the porch railing like Grandpa let us do. Then, I don't even know why I did it. I whistled. Stupid, quick, tuneless. Just once. It echoed down the hill. And something answered. I can't describe it. Not a whistle. Not a bird. Something trying to recreate the sound. Like it only heard it once, long ago, and was trying to mimic what a whistle should sound like. That night, things got worse. At first, it was small. Squirrel guts neatly arranged on the steps in a spiral. My own reflection frozen half a second too long when I looked into the bathroom mirror. Then I started hearing scratching, not from inside the walls, but from underneath the floorboards. A slow, deliberate tracing, like it was writing something. I read more of the journal. Rule 2's not a metaphor. Bread is the traded breath. Don't think feeding him makes you safe. It just means he knows your scent. He'll bend to enter if he must. Later entries became panicked. Pages smeared, lines cut off. Lots of she's watching me write, and there used to be more rules, but they took the names out. When night fell again, I boarded the windows and kept every light on. My phone had lost signal hours ago. The flashlight batteries were drained even though I'd replaced them. Around 1:30 a.m., I heard heavy footsteps on the porch. Slow, scraping. Someone walking like their legs didn't bend right. I looked through the peephole. No one there. Then a knock. Exactly 3 times. Not from the door. From the window above the kitchen sink. 6 feet off the ground. I pressed myself into the corner of the hallway, clutching the journal, flipping to the last dog-eared page I'd marked. It had a diagram of the cabin, crude, pen over pencil, with 3 X's marked on it. Bedroom mirror, fireplace chimney, and the far post of the porch. Underneath, in shaking cursive, "If I don't make it, tell them the mountain remembers." That's how it ended. The last 10 pages had been torn out clean, like someone removed them with intent. I didn't sleep, just kept my back to the bedroom wall and stared at the door until the sky cracked pale gray. When the sun rose, the scratching stopped. Nothing on the porch, but there were footprints in the frost, leading into the trees, deeper than any man could make. I left the next hour. Didn't pack, just locked the door behind me and burned every photo I found in the guest book. When Mom and my uncle came up 3 days later, I told them what happened. We burned the journal. Next day, the same 3 rules were carved into the front door. Clean, fresh, neatly written, like Grandpa never left at all. We got there Monday. By Thursday, half the tents were empty, and nobody remembered who was in them. Echo Lake isn't on modern maps anymore, and frankly, I think that's on purpose. It's one of those too rural, off-the-grid spots that used to be a state-sanctioned youth camp back in the 60s, but funding dried up, interest died down, and it kind of disappeared. But someone chartered it again last year for our church group's fall wilderness excursion. Probably thought the isolation would be good for team bonding or moral development or whatever. 20 of us went, ages 12 to 16, a few junior counselors, and Mr. Rollins, who I'm pretty sure lived off black coffee and beef jerky. The first day was picture perfect. Crisp air, red gold leaves, and a glassy lake so still it looked like polished obsidian under that big cold sky. The center of the camp had one main lodge, 5 tents nestled beneath the pines, and this massive tree that stood alone in the clearing. We joked it looked older than time. Birch white, not the type of wood, actual color. Smooth. And even then it was big. Tuesday morning, it was bigger. Mr. Rollins swore we were imagining it. But one of the other kids, Marcus, measured it with a string from his paracord bracelet. He was weird like that. He cut the string for proof, tied it around the trunk Tuesday morning. By sunset, the knot had shifted 2 inches apart. The tree was swelling. Nobody else noticed. But Marcus kept measuring. That same night, something felt off. I woke up twice thinking someone had unzipped the front of our tent. But no one was inside. Nothing missing. Then Adam, the kid I'd been bunking with the whole trip. I couldn't remember his voice. It happened in this sudden, dizzy moment over breakfast. I looked right at him and realized I didn't remember talking to him the night before or the night before that. Couldn't recall how we met, what town he lived in, who he was. I asked another camper, Rachel, if she remembered his last name. She blinked at me like I'd asked her to name the moon. That's when I checked the tent roster. His name wasn't on it. Neither was Marcus's. By Wednesday, we were down to 11 of us. The tent sat zipped and undisturbed, but not empty. Not completely. In Marcus's tent, his boot prints circled like he'd been pacing in a tight loop for hours. In Adam's, the sleeping bag was gone, but the ground beneath it still held a body shape. Warm. Mr. Rollins didn't seem when I did. Didn't smile when I faked one. Just stared. And on the windowsill, someone had etched something into the old wood frame. That same circle over triangle symbol I'd seen once before. The one from that online story everybody said got pulled. Miner related? Something underground. I don't remember the details, but the shape itched just being near it, like my hand wanted to start drawing it too. Friday, the tree touched the roof of the lodge. No wind, but its branches swayed on their own. Voices started singing between the trees. Not loud, just at that edge where you feel the tone more than hear it. I went to the tent I thought was mine, unzipped it, and saw my name inside the collar of a jacket I didn't recognize. It gets strange here. My flashlight began dimming like it was syncing with my pulse. The shadows no longer moved when I did. People were there, but far off, between the trees. Kids that looked like mine but weren't. Campers we didn't bring. Their shirts were outdated. Their shoes had holes from another decade. They watched from the forest line, unmoving. I left. I think I left. I remember snapping a wet branch to mark the trail. I remember the tree humming so loud it made something behind my eyes twitch. I remember the smell like rust, fertilizer, and cut onions. And I remember reaching the road. Someone picked me up. A sheriff, maybe. Name tag blurred. Took me to town, asked a few questions. Didn't write anything down. I still had the Echo Lake badge on my backpack. But there's no event listed for that week. No property listed under that camp name since 1996. I found Rachel's Instagram after I got home. She hadn't posted in months, then randomly uploaded a photo of the tree. Filters heavy, caption just one word, remember. She blocked me 2 hours later. I don't know what happened to Marcus. Or Adam. I don't even really know if my name was on that original roster. I wake up some nights and swear I can hear humming in the walls. Light, steady just beneath thought. But my backpack still has the embroidered patch. A tree. A lake. The name stitched in gold. Echo Lake, 2023. I don't remember leaving. But how do I have the badge then? She said her name was October. But I think that was just what she became. I met her outside a crumbled logging mill deep in the spine of the burned-out town of Gallows Peak. Not much is left of the place. Just split timbers, vines wrapped around stone foundations, the skeletons of houses long picked clean by weather and raccoons. It's the kind of place urban explorers like me live for. Forgotten by Google, skipped over on maps, soaking in legend. I was trekking through for a photo series. Shattered porches at sunset, nature overtaking industry, whatever played well on social. I didn't expect to see anyone. Certainly not her. She was sitting on a stump in the middle of a collapsed frame house, all wild red curls and a yellow scarf that flapped like smoke in the sharp mountain wind. Don't usually see people up here, I said. She just smiled without looking up. People don't usually make it this far without getting turned around. That first conversation lasted hours. She told me things about the land, the quiet, the old mills, and the locals who used to leave little dolls of wicker and moss out by the trees during October. Wards, she called them. Little warnings dressed like protection. She was strange, in that wonderful magnetic way. The kind of person who knows 7 names for wind and can quote ghost stories that haven't been written down. I asked where she was from. She tugged her scarf tight and said, "I've always been here." I thought she meant local. I didn't get it, that couldn't have, not then. Over the next few days, I kept going back. She was always there. Never approached from the road, never seen walking into town. Just sitting or walking barefoot through the frostbitten fields. I bought her coffee once. She sniffed it like it was foreign, then dropped a pine cone in it, and said it was better that way. I laughed. She didn't. I never got her last name. Every time I asked, she'd tilt her head and say, "That's not mine anymore." Then change the subject. As October wore on, she changed. Subtly at first. Her skin grew pale, almost translucent near the edges, like the cold had reached into her and never left. Her fingers had soil beneath the nails more days than not. Her scent, once pine and cinnamon, became something older, mossy, metallic. And I noticed, when the sun hit just right, her shadow didn't always fall the way it should. It started bending away from the light. Locals at the diner told me Gallows Peak used to be a roaring logging town until it collapsed in the 20s after sickness and sinkholes swallowed it. One old man furrowed his brow and asked if I'd heard of the Bride of the Mountain. Shows up every frost, he grunted. Looks like a girl. Talks like an old prayer. Souls borrowed, bodies not hers. I laughed and said I'd met a girl up there named October. The diner went quiet. He just said, "Then don't stay past All Hallows Eve." That night, I stayed in the old ranger station just past Gallows Ridge. She came to see me. Didn't knock. Just opened the door and stepped inside. "October's ending," she murmured, eyes glowing like candlelight in the dark. You need to leave. I asked her why. I remember the way she looked at me, sad and hungry and full of something ancient. Because if you don't, I won't be able to tell you apart from the others. My hands shook, not from fear, from the sudden understanding that I'd grown used to her, trusted her, maybe even stupidly, recklessly wanted to stay. Who are the others? I whispered. She took my hand, and it was freezing. Ice spread into my arm, but I couldn't pull away. Ask the roots, she said. Ask the earth. They remember all of us. The ones who stayed. The ones who became memory. She turned and walked into the woods. Disappeared between the poplars. I didn't follow. I left that night. Didn't sleep. Didn't breathe until the ridge was shrinking in my rearview mirror. And when I got home, I checked my camera card. Full of images. Autumn mist. Rotten timber. Trees that looked like crooked teeth. But she wasn't in any of them. Not once. Even the one I took right as I offered her the scarf from my bag. Nothing. Just empty wind. I tried to write about her. Once. The post vanished within minutes. Site glitched. Comments locked. I got an email from the server host that simply said, "October is not a name you own." A year passed, and curiosity, like rot, doesn't go away. Last fall, I went back. Told myself it was just to look, just to stand at the ridge again. The air felt wrong. Still and heavy, but too quiet. Like the silence waited for you to exhale so it could hold its breath with you. No signs of people. No tents or campfires or coffee cups. But right at the edge of the woods, I saw her. Just a glimpse. Red curls. Yellow scarf. A hand raised to her lips like she was telling me a secret. She didn't move. Just smiled. And when I blinked, gone. Only cold between the trees. But swaying from one low branch, tied in a knot I recognized, was a pine cone wrapped in a ribbon from my backpack. She said her name was October. I think I understand now. That's not what she was born with. It's what she becomes. Every year, just beneath the frost. Some nights, the whole mountain hums. And that's when we lock the doors. I don't mean storms, or rocks falling, or wind wailing through the hollers. I mean the mountain itself. Humming. Low and deep like a throat the size of a valley. We call it the singing. And if you weren't born to it, really born to it, you don't stay outside when it starts. You don't listen too long. You don't hum back. Because the ones who hum back ain't never the same after. I grew up near a ridge east of Ashburn Hollow. My family's been on that land longer than anybody can trace. Never had much. Just a sagging farmhouse, a few goats, and a strange knack for remembering the old rules. My grandfather used to tell it like this. There's something inside the stone, buried in the deep. Can't move, but it feels. Can't speak, but it sings. And it calls out to kin, come every October. We're not talking ghosts. Not gods, either. Something older than that. Older than names. And not every family hears it. Just ours. Just the ones with blood that woke up sung, as Grandpa used to say. And when the mountain starts crooning, low and steady, like a cello dragged through bone, we go inside, lock the doors, RM, plug the ears of the young ones with wax and ash. The ones who sing back too early or too eager, well, we don't talk about them. Each October, it gets louder, and no one believes us until they feel it in their teeth. Not hear, feel, like a tuning fork in your jaw, a pressure in the skull that hums like a secret waiting to split out of your tongue. Last year, during the third week of October, I made a mistake. Brought someone up who wasn't one of us. My buddy Sean, city kid, good heart, dumb brave. He'd always wanted to go on a real backwoods hunt. Bag himself a buck the hard way. I warned him October wasn't the best time. Told him the trails twist different, the wind plays tricks, and the echoes can talk louder than you'd expect. He thought I was teasing. We hiked up to Cold Glen Ridge, just after frost. Trees turning red and sharp, skeletal lines. It was beautiful, sharp as cut glass and just as fragile. First night was quiet. Then 11 a.m. exact, like clockwork. It started. The hum came from the roots, then the rock, then the air. Made the embers in our campfire shimmy wrong, like someone was breathing just under the flames. Sean sat bolt upright. You hear that? Is that singing? He said it like a joke. I didn't laugh. I told him not to answer, not to move, just cover his ears and hum nothing back. But he was already listening. Too long, too deeply. It's music, he whispered. It's beautiful. That's when I knew I couldn't stop it. His pupils dilated. He started swaying. Slow, like he was on a boat, not sitting on dirt. Then he stood and walked right into the woods barefoot, twigs snapping beneath him like he didn't feel a damn thing. I chased him. Had to. Took my family 2 generations to teach me how not to drown in the sun. The church that vanishes between frosts. It's all part of the same thing. Something buried, deep, humming in sleep. That's why we don't linger on the ridge. Why we plug our ears and teach our young not to listen. Because if you listen too long, it learns your name. And once it starts singing with you, there's no going back. The ones who get taken don't scream. Their bodies walk back sometimes, smiling and humming and saying polite things with the wrong cadence. Sean still calls me every October. Same time, same 7 seconds. All I hear is humming. And the last time, I swear, in the background, it was my voice humming with his, harmonizing. But I hadn't spoken to him in a year. If you hike near the Glen this October, especially on a windless night, and you feel that vibration up your spine, like a song you can't remember but almost can, go home, block your ears, recite your name 3 times out loud. Because if you forget who you are before the hum stops, you'll never remember why you were afraid to begin with. It's funny, we always think October ends with Halloween. Costumes come off, porch lights go dark, candy buckets get dumped out and forgotten. But here, up here in the spine of the Appalachians, October doesn't end then. It starts. It starts when the frost doesn't melt by noon, when the trees stop swaying even when the wind's pushing hard, when the ridgelines hum at night and nobody will say it out loud, but everyone hears it. That's when October really arrives. And if you've been paying attention, maybe you've started to notice the pattern, the lights, the voices, the symbols carved where no one should be able to reach, the churches that appear after the first frost and go missing by All Souls Day. Some say it's trauma echoing back through generations. Others blame it on fog, bad wiring, black mold, or pure Appalachian superstition. But I'm not so sure it's just stories anymore, because they all remember something we're trying to forget. A ripple that keeps returning every year. A presence beneath the soil and stone, humming louder with each telling. A lantern left as warning, or a door that shouldn't be opened. Not because it hides something, but because it lets something out. Look at the threads. The mine on Devil's Fork, the mirrored lanes of Mill Hollow, the Frost Church, and the tree that feeds on names. The reflection that lingers too long. The voices in the static. The song. Whatever lives beneath these mountains that it isn't done. It isn't sleeping. It's remembering. And it's calling to someone. Maybe to all of us. You ever notice how the stories vanish after a while? How posts about these places disappear? Blogs go dark. Even printouts start to fade like they were never real to begin with. I had a handwritten note once. Someone mailed me hard evidence. Photos, property records, Forest Service clearance maps with words scratched out. I sealed it in a fireproof case for safekeeping. It's blank now, just yellow paper. Like whatever was on it decided to leave. But that's why I keep telling these stories. Because they want to be forgotten, and I've made it my job not to let that happen. And maybe that's foolish. Maybe I've already said too much. But if you've seen the lights out past the tree line, or heard the humming under your floorboards at night, I want to hear your. It was warnings. And if I disappear before next fall, you'll know why. I'll be checking my porch again this Halloween, like I always do, watching for wax drips, breath in the glass, and if a lantern's ever left, still warm on the step, glowing against the dark. I won't open the door, because some songs, once heard, never leave you. Even in silence, somewhere in the stone, it's still singing.